This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. A lot of exciting things happen during these midterm elections. The blue wave is real, and the turnout of Americans in this election was record-breaking. And as we are still waiting for final tallies in many of the regions across the country, it's obvious that a lot of Democratic effort went into taking back the House from the Republicans. The Senate proved to be a little bit more challenging, but apparently we will be having at least one more brand new election for a Senate seat. The new election is very, very interesting development, to be sure, and it's happening in the most interesting of places, Mississippi. On Tuesday, November 27th, Mississippians will hold a runoff election between the incumbent Cindy Hyde-Smith, a Republican appointee who's held her office for a little over 8 months now, and Mike Espy, the Democratic candidate. Now, local Mississippi politics don't often make the news, so let's do a super brief recap. This Senate seat came open when Thad Cochran, the previous senator, resigned for health reasons. Thad Cochran was a Southern charmer all his own. Among his many accomplishments were such gems as refusing to co-sponsor an anti-lynching resolution. In its 2005 passing, the U.S. Senate made a formal apology for failing to enact any federal anti-lynching legislation in the early 20th century. Back when lynchings of Black Americans were all too common, state-supported, violent, and murderous tactics of intimidation used by white Southerners against their Black neighbors. Although it seems like the simplest of votes to make, Cochran's no vote was pretty standard for Mississippi representation. I mean, why wouldn't someone want to extend a formal apology from the United States government for failing to protect its citizens of color from state-sponsored terror? But hey, Thad Cochran, he found a way. And when voting against it, he told the Washington Post at the time, quote, "I'm not in the business of apologizing for what someone else did or didn't do. I deplore and regret that lynchings occurred and that those committing them weren't punished, but I'm not culpable," unquote. Who the hell said you were personally culpable, Thad? Did you even read the resolution, or are you simply allergic to doing anything that might give a sense of peace and satisfaction to Black Americans? But hey, that was Thad Cochran. I'm sure that Cindy Hyde-Smith, oops, I did it again, didn't I? I'm sure that Cindy Hyde-Smith, his hand-picked GOP successor, is much more evolved on the still open wound of lynching that continues to fester in the South. I'm sure she's very aware of how her words on the subject, her being a Mississippi senator and all, would be interpreted by the rest of us. Let's take a look. In broad daylight, in full view of everyone present, in the public, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith complimented a right-wing blogger, Lamar White Jr., by stating that, quote, "If he invited me to a public hanging, I'd be on the front row." Since the video of that little compliment has gone viral, the Mississippi GOP and everyone else willing to go to bat for her is twisting themselves into little racist pretzels, trying to explain this away as a joke. Now, mind you, after calls for Hyde-Smith to apologize to Mississippians for a tone-deaf, stupid line, she has remained defiant that she will not be doing so. In her official statement, she has drawn a line in the sand, saying that, quote, "she used an exaggerated expression of regard, and any attempt to turn this into a negative connotation is ridiculous," unquote. No, Hyde-Smith, no. Lynchings are not a joke and never have been. They were extrajudicial punishments, public executions of Black Americans. Many of the male victims' bodies were left hanging after they were stripped and gruesomely disfigured in a further method of terror and intimidation so that the hellish visual would horrify anyone who would happen by. This was government white supremacist terror at its worst. But I guess you can't see that, Cindy? Are you intellectually and emotionally so shallow that you lack the depth to dig deep enough to find an apology that you can put on the table that would soothe the justifiable rage that many feel about your words? And you know, this isn't just some kind of common turn of phrase that just slips off the Southern tongue. Don't try to pretend like this is some sort of quaint Southern Mississippi speak that we're all just not privy to, because it's not. But hey, we're not done with the Mississippi GOP just yet. Yesterday, the Republican governor of the state, who had appointed White Pride Smith, decided he was going to step in and make things better. At a press conference, after she bobbed and weaved away from making an apology, Phil Bryant pivoted in a cripplingly clumsy attempt at whataboutism and went on the offensive against, guess who? Black women.
We look at African Americans. According to Wikipedia, African American women are 3 times more likely to have an abortion. 3 times more likely. 20 million, over 20 million African American children have been aborted in this nation. A genocide. Imagine that.
Are you out of your mind, Phil Bryant? You're going to accuse black women of genocide when asked why Cindy White Pride Smith thinks public hangings are funny? Thanks for the clarification, buddy, but you, sir, are nothing but a goonish meat puppet with an accent. So the whole point of this video is to say that no, it's not going to be easy for Mike Espy to win this election and to turn Mississippi blue. There's a lot of stupid that's been baked in for a few hundred years that he will have to fight along the way. But let's take a look at the bright side. He's in this race. The election is happening. The GOP votes outweigh the Democratic votes, or at least they did on September 6th in Mississippi. But we can do a lot better and have a lot better turnout on the 27th. So please share this video because we need to expose the Mississippi GOP for the mealy-mouthed cowards that they are. Share this video because we need to encourage each other to donate and to volunteer for Mike Espy. Share this video because we need some hope in the South. If Mississippi wasn't ready, we wouldn't be in this runoff altogether. All we need is a chance.